Specifically, Pastor Nate said, will you share how God has provided for you and how that has impacted your faith? And I want to say, I am so thankful that you asked us specifically to speak on that, because we have seen the goodness of God. We have seen that grace of both the giver and the recipient in our ministry. And we have so many miracles to share with you that we will not share all. We will keep it short. But the next slide, Refugee Bridge began meeting in July of 2017 in our basement. And we didn't have a clue what we were doing. We created a mission statement and a vision, and my husband and another member got us incorporated as a not-for-profit. Right from the beginning, our desire was not to become a charity. We wanted to partner with churches. We set out to sponsor Christian refugees and bring them from danger in a foreign land to safety in Alberta, Canada. And a refugee sponsorship involves three things. It involves submitting sponsorship applications to the government. It involves money. And it involves assistance to the refugee once they're here. It's a term of 12 months. How has God provided? Well, to submit a refugee application, you need to secure spots from a word that will be foreign to you, a settlement agreement holder. Easy way is just say SAW. You have to have spots from a settlement agreement holder. And our denomination doesn't have a settlement agreement holder. We were introduced to the Canadian Baptists of Western Canada. They are a settlement agreement holder, and they graciously give us spots. The Canadian Baptists of Western Canada, having spots to submit a sponsorship is a huge provision from God. And so you're going to see that I'm just trying to show you a little bit about how a refugee is sponsored, but every aspect God has provided for us. Mrs. Reverend Faye Reynolds is a volunteer with Canadian Baptists of Western Canada, and she assists us with submitting a sponsorship application to the government, which is IRCC. God has provided church partnerships. After sponsoring 4 families, we recognized that God had a bigger vision than we did, and that we needed to engage with churches to partner with us to enlarge our capacity. And God has multiplied our work. So in the first 4 years, 2017 to 2020, when we didn't partner with churches, we sponsored 4 families. And you can easily do the math. Basically, that's 1 per year. In the next 4 years, 2021 to the present, we partnered with churches. We did partner with churches and have sponsored 19 more families. So your church is referring to your friend, our friend in Turkey. That's family 22. And we'll submit, his application is submitted. We'll submit 1 more family this month. But again, that provision is God. God has brought the churches. So in 2024, we'll submit 5 refugee family sponsorships, and you can see your logo dead center, Wetaskiwin Church of God. And church, give yourself a pat on the back. We're proud of you. It's a step of faith, and it's exciting for us. And I have already sensed the excitement in this congregation when we walked in and talked to just a very few people, and several of them used the word excitement, and I got goosebumps. So Wetaskiwin Church of God is one of our partnering church, and we give thanks to God for you, and God has provided this partnership. So later on, you may think, there's nothing I can do, but God uses everybody and everybody's gifts. We couldn't do this sponsorship without Joseph, but it's God who gave Joseph the idea to ask you, and everyone present can embrace it and be so thankful for the opportunity. And your word is absolutely dead on, opportunity.
I get to talk about money. And I'm an accountant, so I love to talk about money. Aren't you excited? But money is not about money. Money is about us and God. In the same way, you're doing a car care clinic this Saturday. It's not about the cars. It's about serving. It's about God's love. And I think that's an exciting idea. In 2017, Refugee Bridge began to commit to sponsor refugee families because we thought we knew that's the direction God is calling us. We met and we prayed every 2 weeks. And in the beginning, we thought maybe we would sponsor 3 families in the next few years. And in the first year, we threw in $20 when we met. We didn't exactly know how we would raise $30,000 for the first family, but because we had made the commitment, we started. We did small presentations at our churches to tell people what we were doing. We planned a silent auction. We put on a Valentine's Day dinner at another church. Small steps in obedience. I remember talking to a church in our 3rd year and quoting the verse, God can do immeasurably more than we imagine. At that time, we had raised funds for 2 sponsorships, and we're working on the 3rd. And I remember quoting an amount of, I think it was $78,000, which God had blessed us with. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a long ways from $20. I thought that was pretty good in my mind, but I had no idea what was around the corner. We have a God who does more than add and subtract. He multiplies. By the 4th year, we had sponsored 4 families, basically 1 a year, and none had arrived yet. Are we going to be any good at resettling? Perhaps 4 families isn't enough. Is it time for somebody else to take over? We wrestled with those questions in January 2021. But why should we not continue to trust in God, His provision? And we decided we would continue as long as God is calling us. We committed to 3 sponsorships that year. Not 1 per year as our history, but to 3. And we weren't exactly sure how we would do this, but we continued to plan, and we invited people to our annual event. And then God surprised us with a very unexpected gift. A mobile home and lot on the Pine Lake Golf Resort just outside of Red Deer. God blessed our obedience in stepping out in faith and sponsoring 3 families in January, March, and June. In early October, Right before our fundraising events of October 22 and 23, we were gifted with this modular home. It was given to us by a man in Calgary who we did not know. But he had heard about what we were doing. He liked helping refugees, and he needed a deduction for his taxes that year. The next spring, we cleaned, we fixed up, and the next spring, that donated modular home sold within 18 hours of listing for $137,000, and all the families were sponsored. It was God's provision, a miracle at the exact time we needed it.
We're going to talk about people now. One of our volunteers, Colin, helps us with moving furniture when our strength is not enough. And you're going to see on this slide Colin on the far left, and two boys. One is his son, James, and the second boy is actually a refugee in his first 12 months of resettlement here. He's one of a family of 6 that arrived July 6th of 2023. Phyllis is the donor. She lives in Spruce Grove, and she's sitting in a chair. One of many pieces of furniture that she donated to us. She was moving into care, and she was the sweetest, godliest little woman. And you may think that picking up furniture isn't fun. Well, it is. When we left, she whispered, "See you in heaven." And she was giving her furniture and was thrilled that it was going to be given to a family of 5 that live in Edmonton, asylum seekers that fled Mexico. Colin is employed by Capital Irrigation. He's been employed 5 years there. So to celebrate his 5-year anniversary, they gave him a gift, and that was the opportunity to volunteer for 5 days this year with a charity of his choice and to be paid. And guess who he chose? He chose Refugee Bridge. And I would just tell you that's an answer to prayer from my friend who thinks that Bob and I are pretty old and that we need help with moving. So we have help with moving. Capital Irrigation helped us with trucks and strong men December 12th to pick up an entire household of furniture from a man whose father-in-law was moving into care. And we delivered it to a Ukrainian family of 4. Again, Capital Irrigation helped us April 3rd with trucks and men to pick up from a whole condo of furniture and deliver it to a Ukrainian family of 6. And in this last slide, you'll see Colin on the right. Yep, you're right. And he's with a coworker, and the little girl is the youngest member of the family of 6, a new Ukrainian family that just happens to live in South Terwillegar. We attend Terwillegar Community Church, so it's in our neighborhood. Bob and I continually pick up donated furniture for new to Canada families in Edmonton and Sherwood Park. April 6th, we picked up a couch, a love seat, a table and 4 chairs from the Borno family. These are miracles, and they're just encouragements from God to say, you're not doing this alone. You're doing it with my power. I'm leading, you're following. So lastly, God provides opportunities to be used by him. In early December, I attended a women's breakfast at our church and learned that a single mom was being transferred to Ottawa. Then I learned that she had no furniture because she and her infant son lived with her mother. Her husband was a student in Uganda doing his thesis in agriculture, and he'd not yet received his PR to come to Canada. Well, I think from listening to me, you know Refugee Bridge has furniture. And we jumped at the opportunity to help this family. December 22nd, the biggest moving van that I have ever seen pulled up in front of our house. But it wasn't just in front of our house, it was in front of the house to the left and the house to the right. Movers loaded up everything needed for a 2-bedroom apartment in Ottawa. Sharon's move was paid for by her employer. But listen to the details. Sharon, her son, and her mother flew to Ottawa January 5th. The moving van came to our house December 22nd. Within an hour of their arrival, the movers called to say the furniture was in Ottawa and they were ready to deliver. They didn't even have to have one night in a hotel. Sharon's mother, Elsie, her return flight was scheduled for midnight, March 30th. Elsie was worried about her leaving Sharon, her daughter, and her grandson, 2 years old, alone in Ottawa. On March 31st, Sharon's husband was allowed to come to Canada. He got his PR. After being unable to come to Canada, even as a visitor, even to see his newborn son that was born in February 2022, he was granted PR, and his flight was March 31st, Easter Sunday, Sharon's Easter miracle. God cares for Sharon. God cares for you. God cares for me. And he just wants our eyes to be open to see that he's in control and he's providing. She was reunited with her husband 12 hours after her mother returned to Edmonton.
The story of Refugee Bridge is only 7 years old, and we had no idea how one small commitment, one small step of obedience in July 2021 would change our lives. We now see that God has called us, and we simply followed. In the beginning, we did not have the passion or the knowledge or the experience, but we did move forward, and God equipped us and provided for us. We have witnessed firsthand his miracles. Remember the verse, God can do immeasurably more than we imagine. But God works through us. It starts with us. Your Pastor Nate went out and asked for air fresheners. Did God work with that? Yes, he did. And he did immeasurably more. As I said, I'm an accountant, and I'm sure God laughs at all my Excel spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets. The beauty of it is that I can press the Save You button. And when I click that button, I overwrite the previous version. The past is gone and replaced with the new. If my life is like a spreadsheet, I can make a change, and I can hit the save. And God will honor that change, that new commitment, that new faith in his promises. The old version is gone. God works with the new. You can commit to something greater or more than you ever have in the past. You can take a step forward in obedience. You can trust in God's promises. And then watch. Watch and see how great is our God. And watch him do immeasurably more than you ever imagined. We will be around after the service. Please come and talk to us. We're excited about your church. We're excited about taking on the application for as your brother, and we would ask God how you might be a blessing to him and in turn be blessed.